spread one love, okay? Thanks for tuning in to us, the MNM Show.
MNM.
MNM.
Show.
Back. Thank you for tuning in to another live, fresh episode of the M&M Show. I'm your host, Nikki MG, and I'm here with the one and only J.
Oh, my bad.
Mills.
J. Mills.
I tried, but you're like way better at doing your thing than I am. But thank you for pausing. I got to experiment with that. I always wanted to do that. Crossed off my bucket list. We're here with J. Mills once again, and we have a special guest tonight, Ms. Thea Merl of
Rose's Luxury and Ellie up in Northwest.
All right, of two different local restaurants here in the District of Columbia. And
You're like way better at doing.
Yep.
that was a meta moment that just happened there. Tune in, share, and like our show. You can watch us at live.onelovemassive.com or on Facebook Live on the One Love Massive page. Either way, no matter where you're at, share. Let folks know the conversation is going down once again. And happy Tuesday to everyone. What's been going on with you ladies this Tuesday? What's been going on in your lives this week? Share.
Happy first Mother's Day.
It was my first Mother's Day. It was lovely. My husband made a delicious, healthy brunch and got me a nice card, and we got to see some family, and they bestowed many gifts upon us, which was really nice for the baby. Yeah, I'm excited to be a mommy.
Amen.
Someone wished me a happy almost Mother's Day. We see you and respect your nugget day, which I thought was cute. So yeah, happy Mother's Day, belated, and always to all the moms and expecting mothers out there. It's quite a miraculous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very.
Happy Mother's Day to you as well.
Thank you.
Ms.
Thank
Queen.
you.
What did the young fiery Jelani have in store for you on Mother's Day?
He bought me a little gift that was a little panda bear hugging a box of Starbursts. And
Do you like Starburst?
I do, but not as much as he
does.
It was still cute. It was cute that he stepped it up from, like, macaroni noodle to something with a little bit more thought that he picked out on his own for his mommy. So
That's nice.
that was cute. Shout out to the month of May. My birthday's at the end of the month, so
Ooh.
feeling good. We get closer and closer.
So what zodiac sign is that again?
Gemini.
I said, what's that number one zodiac sign?
Gemini. Yeah, man, love us or hate us, either way, I welcome the obsession. You will be obsessed. So, shout outs to being a Gemini.
And this is where there is J Mills past the JJ Mills. There is Naughty Nina.
Nina Ross.
Yeah,
Her.
J Mills.
Mm-hmm.
And these are are these the two main sides of the Gemini scales?
Well, my best friend said she counted 6. So, yeah.
There is more.
I'm never alone. I amuse myself. I entertain myself.
Isn't there
more.
like a saying, something, there's a universe inside of each of us?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
There's a multiverse inside of this head.
What is your zodiac sign?
Aries.
Is it Aries? Woo!
Okay, your season just passed.
Indeed,
Shortly.
indeed. I welcome the Gemini, though. I love me some Geminis.
Wow. Okay.
I'll say it again because I don't think people love on Geminis how they should. I love me some Geminis. I love me some Aries.
Can we shout out? I'm about to take a sip of these libations, Joe. Shout outs to G House.
Talk to us. Tell us more about G House. Who are they?
Oh man,
What's
we
going
got the sis star Dion Joy stopped through. She came bearing gifts, man. Shout outs to Canna Woods one more time for being the vehicle of delivery for this fatty. It's so fat I don't think we're gonna spark this while we're on air because we are highly likely to spend a lot of time smoking. But we got a Skittles pack that has some
What's a Skittles pack? What's that mean?
Star Dog. What's in here? Bubble gum.
Oh, so there's like different flavors
Yeah.
in that pack.
I wish you had smell-o-vision in your television so you could really see the differences. But we're gonna get into those for sure.
Smell-o-vision in your television.
Yeah. But we also have juice.
What kind of juice? What is that in your cup?
Red.
Or as little Wayne would say, don't worry about what's in my cup.
Don't worry about what's in my cup. But organic juice.
I have water. Just to be clear.
Courtesy of G House. We're gonna see how things progress by the end of the show, man. Shout outs to this though, I think.
Yeah.
Highly needed for the conversation.
Where
ahead.
can folks find more information about G House? Are they on Instagram? Come on over here.
This tastes like a melted Jolly Rancher.
Yes, I wasn't ready.
Come on,
Wow.
yeah,
Take a
come
sip
on
of
over
water
here.
real quick.
Candy.
Tell us, can we tell us where we can go put the headphones on. Can you hear yourself?
Hey.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Yes, great. So where can folks find more information about your services?
Okay, first I want to say thank you guys for having me. I go by Dion Joy, and G House DC is actually G.House GC DC on Instagram. So that's how you find us. We do events every day, I-71 compliant, and yeah, we have everything pretty much that you could possibly want.
So tell us where we find you on Instagram again.
Also, I'm Dion Joy, so that's DIONNEJOI. And then we have G.House BC on Instagram for all of your 420 needs.
For all of your 420 needs.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. I know J Mills is very
Thank you,
appreciative.
Very,
Shout
very
out to the real J
appreciative.
Mills in the building. All these beautiful young ladies
Yeah.
for me. Yes,
We
I
already got
appreciate
some
you
folk.
guys.
Yes. We appreciate you too in the gifts. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Say
you
hi,
so
guys.
much. Dion Joy on Instagram, G House DC on IG as well. You can catch them all around the city doing their thing. Shout outs to them. And if you got a business that's pretty dope that you think we love, come bearing gifts, man. Let us shout you out. Share it with the homies.
Share with the homies.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm on.
So, Thea, this is your first time on the show.
Yeah.
Usually we ask each other, how have you been since this past week? But this is our first time meeting you. So
Real.
how have you been this past month? What's been going on in the life of Thea?
The month of May.
Yeah.
I just turned 30.
Congratulations.
That was April.
Dirty
that was a
30.
thing, right? I feel more whole in myself. I will say that.
Amen.
You know what I mean? I think I'm a gatherer, right? I want to gather information and perspectives and be like, yeah or yay. So I think in the last month has been a lot of life changes, a lot of fortuitous thought put into stuff, and I think I'm reaping some benefits.
Amen.
I
Great.
discovered the AM walk in Rock Creek.
The AM walk?
Yeah, there's limited runners, almost no dogs.
Oh, okay.
I live in Mount Pleasant. Shout out Mount P. I live in Mount Pleasant, so getting to the park is 2 blocks down the street,
Yeah.
right? Magic. There's a whole lemonade field there. I have taken all my friends. It is amazing. Benches, big broad fields, no houses, just trees and open grass. And like,
Are you from DC?
my parents are both natives. I've lived in DC off and on my whole life, childhood to now. Mostly Virginia, little stints here and there, adult life, DC, Philly, New York, back to DC.
Okay.
DC feels like home. The community is real.
Yes. Rock Creek is a beautiful, beautiful space. A good place to meditate, get your exercise on. And, yeah, you know. Shout out to Rock Creek Park.
Shout outs to the park.
You know?
Yo, shout outs to the chat room. Folks are already getting live.
The chat
about
room
the
is
topic of
live
the night.
already?
Yeah, man.
Guys, we haven't even talked about anything
know.
serious yet.
They just got
what is
they just
going
saw the
on?
topic and they
happened
see
in
what
the
it
chat
is.
room?
We appreciate the feedback. June 19th, make sure that you show up at the ballot, show up and vote. You know, traditionally only 2 to 4% of Washingtonians show up to vote in local government elections. Apparently, we only come out to vote for the president, and that's like the least important position in like the entirety of government, especially when it comes to local government and, you know, your daily life. So that being said, we are so happy to have this argument. I feel like I should moderate because like I don't have a dog in the fight on one side.
Oh, no,
or the
it's
other.
good. It's good. We checked in. We're gonna
Okay.
what we're gonna do
Okay.
today, just for viewers to understand,
We can.
for transparency, right? So tonight we're gonna be talking about Initiative 77, which is a ballot measure that you will have the opportunity to vote for or against on June 19th. So again, get out and vote, exercise your right.
Yep.
It is a proposal that would increase the tipped minimum wage from $3.33 per hour plus tips to $15 per hour plus tips by 2025. So this would be a major change for the way restaurants operate in the District of Columbia. So we're going to be talking more about that. But on our last show, we had a guest who was an advocate and proponent of Initiative 77, which, if you know me, have followed my Facebook page or seen anywhere that I've commented about it, you know that I am also an advocate of it. But we wanted to be fair and have someone who is a tipped employee from the restaurant industry come and give other side of the perspective and let you, the viewer, the voter, decide where you stand and how you're going to vote on July 19th.
June.
Yes, June 19th. June 19th. Forgive me. So, but because it is transparent, we know that I'm on a different side than Thea. I think it's really important for us, in order to have a productive discussion, to see maybe where we align, points that we differ and why we differ, but to have a general productive discussion is to get to know each other first, right? And also, a lot of people, in my experience over my 10 years being a worker organizer and advocate, when I talk to consumers of the restaurant industry, a lot of them, they just really don't know like how a restaurant operates. They don't know the ins and outs. They don't know what's going on. So I also want to take this time to educate viewers about how different restaurants operate and what Thea's experience has been like in the various different roles and positions she has been in. So J Mills, jump in, ask questions, add, you have a whole lot to add and you got a lot to say too.
Hey.
But I want to just start off with asking Thea a little bit more about how you got into the restaurant industry. And why do you like it? Why do you work in restaurants? What led you there? What keeps you there?
Heard. Thank you guys again for having me on your show. This is pretty dope. I think it's awesome.
We are pretty dope.
Also as like a listener. So, well, I already outed myself. So I'm 30, right? I've been working in restaurants since I was 15, off and on, all kinds, flash cast, fine dining, counter service.
So you said Fast
casual. So like
fast casual. So yeah, what are the different like categories of restaurants? Because a lot of people don't even realize.
Yeah, that like it's
there's different. Yeah,
like all things under a system of capitalism, right? There's a hierarchy. So there's what I mean when I say fast casual. I think what's the local Kava? Kava's a great example of fast casual, right? That has had a success story. So like simple grab and go things that are either made fresh in front of you or that are prepackaged, right? That would be what I would consider fast casual. And you can sit down in like a nice-ish establishment. I think Panera is another great example of like places that were like on the forefront of that, you know? Like it's not technically not fast food, but it is fast food-ish, you know?
like Au Bon Pain and Le Pain Quotidien.
Yes, the daily bread.
Le pain quotidien.
Those type of places, fast casual. So you've worked in those type of places before.
Definitely.
Okay.
But you get minimum wage at those type of restaurants, right?
At
Not
least
necessarily. It also depends on like your business model and which you're, you know what I mean? I think places where that we've just named.
Yeah.
Some of those places you get paid minimum wage. Some of those places you do not get paid minimum wage. You get a tipped wage.
Which one of those restaurants?
Le Pain Quotidien. A friend of mine worked there for a long time. He was a server. He got paid what we all got paid, which I believe then, this is like years ago when I still lived in DC, he was not making minimum. He was making, I think I made like like 233,
275,
something like that.
That
No,
was
I'm
the
talking
old
like
minimum
2009.
wage.
Yeah, so then 275.
It was 275.
277, like
Yeah.
that. So like I'm talking like 08, 09 DC. He definitely, that was a tipped employee working at Le Pain Quotidien in DuPont Circle.
Okay. So like I didn't even know. I assumed. I think like J Mills assumed that in fast casual restaurants, people got paid at least a minimum wage or more. Because I'm not sure that when I go to those places, like I tip automatically. Because
I've never tipped at Panera Bread.
Yeah.
I don't
think of it as a
recall
sit down experience.
Again, like I don't know anyone that's ever worked at a Panera, right? You can sit at the one in Columbia Heights right now and eat.
Yeah, but
They have like a little thing. The one like where I grew up in like Spotsylvania, they had like a little like cushy seat. It was like a little like more comforting than like diner vinyl.
But I mean, an eat-in restaurant isn't. You're not serving. You don't have to refill drinks. You're not clearing out plates. You're not doing
At
anything.
Panera, you kind of do. Like from my
Are you?
experiences that I'm referencing, yeah. Like you go, you pay.
Because I surely just
I
sat
haven't
down.
been in one in
I got my
years,
food.
I'll
I
say
paid
that.
for it, and then I took it to where I was gonna go sit and eat it.
Yeah, and then there's a little station where you take your tray with your empties and your dirties and you throw them away.
So what we've established right now is that in fast casual restaurants, there's different models of potentially how they operate in terms of how they provide service and what kind of wages they pay to workers.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure like Kava is one of my examples. I'm pretty sure they do all make minimum wage, but again, like I don't know for sure. But like I will say there are many restaurants in that category of like quote unquote
If you
fast
work
casual.
at Kava, let us know.
Yeah.
Tell us
I
in
don't
the
know.
comments. We don't know.
But-
We're trying to learn today. So you worked at some fast casual places.
Fast
and
food places as
fast
well.
food.
Right.
So people know what fast food. This is America. This is your McDonald's, your Wendy's, your Taco
They make
Bell.
minimum wage.
Definitely, yeah.
Yes. I
Their work
think
is
Potbelly,
guaranteed. Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
make minimum wage.
All
Yes,
those people.
I've worked there. Yeah,
Working in food, making minimum wage.
Oh.
have
getting
you worked
paid.
in fast food before?
Nope.
I have not either.
I have.
You have. Where did you work?
I worked at Potbelly's.
At
I worked at
Potbelly.
Potbelly's in high school. I worked at Potbelly's making minimum
That's
wage.
nice though.
Cutting
That's
fingertips off on meat slicers.
not nice.
Like
For real?
Never mind.
having to sit there and be like, yo, so I work here and I read the ingredients on our wheat bread and this is not wheat bread.
Uh-oh.
Salty. So, hey, Potbelly's. But,
Jeez.
do you know what I mean? Like, no, I think I've worked almost every model except, no, I've worked every model. So, and then you have, what do? We did fast food,
Fast casual.
fast casual. And you have your casual dining, right? And that would be like your like
Olive
Red
Garden,
Lobster,
Red
your
Lobster.
Olive Garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's your fine dining, right? Now, just like how we've discovered fast casual, right? There's a myriad of things that go on in that specter of like what that
Yes.
is considered.
We got a comment. Panera, Kava, Chipotle, etc. are counter service and do not get tipped.
Boom, there you
To
go.
credit
It's a counter
wage.
service model.
That's what I was thinking.
Boom.
'Cause-
So there you go. Like I have not worked. I have, but not for a multinational corporation or national corporation. I've never worked counter service for a national corporation. I've worked counter service for a small business owner in New York City. Yeah. I've not done any of those.
Have you ever worked at like a level of a restaurant like a IHOP or a Waffle House or
The casual sector.
Yeah, but not in this city. Like in Virginia, which I think is a whole nother beast. They have legislation going on right now in like Arlington, like Northern Virginia, I believe, to like.
right, Denny's?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
No, I've never worked at Denny's.
I've never worked at Denny's.
I
will never work.
Yeah,
at
I will never
Denny's.
work at Denny's. I don't eat at Denny's. Like, I grew up in rural Virginia, so like that was definitely an option. And
Shoney's, Bob Big Boys.
yeah, exactly.
My head is open now.
Ponderosa.
Yes, all of those. Do you know what I mean? And
Because they're all getting tipped wages, but they're not getting tips like even a Red Lobster person would they?
Because they don't have the cheddar biscuits.
No, but they're getting that $3.
but you can get the
an
cheddar
hour.
biscuits at a drive-through now, so you don't even need to go in the
In the
restaurant.
grocery store.
Yeah, like you don't need to do that.
See, they're diversifying their revenue streams. So like, but you were saying though, in the fine dining spectrum,
there's a
there's
whole nother stratosphere.
yeah, there's like also I know like casual fine dining as well. So that's like a Rosa Mexicano versus like Joe's
Seafood.
Steakhouse or seafood, right? Like
Shout
downtown.
out to Joe's and
you
their
know?
key lime pie.
I know.
Fantastic.
So good. So yeah, so you've worked in a spectrum of different types of restaurants. And what type of roles have you been in various restaurants?
I have worked every front of house position. I have worked as a dishwasher, and I have worked a salad station. Cool.
So for folks who don't know, you said front of the house. There's front of the house and back of the house.
So by front of house, I mean like I've been a server, I've been a busser, I've been a host, I've been a manager, I've been a bartender, I've been a bar back.
So like everything in the front of the house.
Yeah, I'm like, did I miss one? I think that covers. My bad if I missed one, but yeah.
Run the gamut. I have a similar experience as well, including, I mean, I've never been hired as a dishwasher, but as a front of the house employee, you be washing dishes. You do what you have to do, you know, depending on how the staffing or the structure is, or, you know, you do what you have to do. So I've washed plenty of dishes. I've been on the line. I've been at the salad station. I've been expediting as well, but mostly my paid position or contracted position or employee's position has been started off as a host at Friendly's restaurant.
Friendlies.
Yeah, way back in high school in the day, and then became a server. I worked at Applebee's in high school, and then like in some of college. And when I got to college, I was a server at several independent, small restaurant family bars in Maryland, University of Maryland. Shout out Terps. And then after that, moved to the District of Columbia and worked as a server at a plethora of restaurants here, from small, casual, mom and pop places to corporate fine dining places like Ruth Chris. I worked a gamut of places, but I've also been a manager and a bartender as well. So it's been some really great learning experiences, also some challenges, straight up. So I'm curious though about your role now as a server at Rose's Luxury. So paint us a picture. What's a day in the life of Thea like as a server at Rose's Luxury?
Oh man. Well, I'm like, man, all right, speaking solely to Rose's life, I'm an early riser, so I usually wake up early and like go for a walk of some sort. Shout out again, Rock Creek.
Meditate.
Saving my soul every day. Then usually get ready. I volunteer sometimes with different literacy programs around DC. And usually my end time is like 3 o'clock. So life happens before 3 and then like after midnight or 1 a.m., right?
I guess. That's that restaurant life right
That's
there.
my restaurant life. It's a lot of life. But it's also doctor nurse life. That's also, law student paralegal life. That is a lot of people's schedules. Not that we live in a community for the most part that adheres to us. We are the outcast. The after midnight, you must be drunk, right? Why else would you be out or have needs?
I guess that I guess that could be a stereotype. Absolutely.
It's
Yeah. I mean, that's why I used to be out.
real. Sometimes that's the reason. Sometimes
getting off my shift.
That's the time you have to get work done.
Yeah.
But beyond that point, get to work at 3. We have family meal. They feed us every day. We do pre-show, which is like 30, 45 minutes of like, hey, what moved you today? What'd you do this weekend? Did anyone have like a great service experience? Was there something that you noticed that you're like, man, that was super impactful? Like, that's something that we can do to like really like grab people's memories and be like, hey, this is a place for that. Like, you can have that type of experience. From then we move into food and wine notes, sometimes a tasting of some sort, either a new dish with like a breakdown or like whoever the farmer is that created the product they used to create this dish. Sometimes a cocktail, sometimes wine, lit into some diurnal shifts, alluvial soil, really in there. And then we break. We have from 4 o'clock to 5 to clean and set up the restaurant.
So what time do you get in, and how many hours are you there before you actually start getting tips? Client, servers, people,
I'm there.
patrons.
So at Rose's, we have a tip pool, right? So in our tip pool, it is servers, food runners, and bussers, right? So we get in at 3. From like 3 to 4, essentially, is like prep, get your energy right, get ready for it, dot your I's, cross your T's, and then service.
So service starts at 4? 5.
Yeah.
5. Okay.
4.
But you got to be there at 2?
We are in at 3.
3.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours.
Yeah. And, sorry. So in our tip pool at Rose's.
So, what's it? So in my years of talking to consumers, like a lot of people they don't know what happens to a tip like after they leave it. Okay. So what is a tip pool? What is how does it get broken down? What's that?
I cannot speak to some sort of like standardization across the board.
Right, it's different in every restaurant.
I think in my experience, in my opinion, that the tip pool was created to kind of address the moment of us like looking at our coworkers and being like, yo, hey, Tommy, random white guy, like you do like almost nothing and you make so much money. Whereas, hey, Lauren, random white girl, you are equally the same. Hey, whoever, do you know what I mean? Like we can go through your racial and your demographics and classes. I mean, racism definitely play a part, right? In all aspects of
in
most
interactions,
tips, or in working in a service industry. So it actually like leads us more protection and in my opinion, again. So we pull our tips. Therefore, there's not like one person reaping the benefits of like everyone's hard work. And then also like for us creates a system of protection. So say like tonight in this thunderstorm, I was supposed to be working the patio, right? Patio's 10 seats. So 10 seats on a beautiful evening, which it was a little while ago. You can only, working as a server, your income is generated off of your tips and how many times you can turn that table and create like a quality experience and like put your knowledge on display for the most part, in my opinion, right?
Even though sometimes it may not be your fault that the table can't turn. Maybe the kitchen took a long time. Maybe the bar's taking a long time.
Yeah, maybe the guests don't want
to
they don't want to leave. Yeah.
Maybe they just want to sit there.
Yeah, I'm not trying to place blame as to like the table turning. And I have had the privilege of like, slowly working and like checking out different levels of like this industry that I love, of figuring out where that space works. And, from having the moment of like, once upon a time, I was a shark. Oh, you didn't grate your table fast enough in a place where like it was not a tip pool, where I had an owner that trained people that, only declare 10% of your tips. It'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Fun story. This is before I left UC. I was like realizing there's something wrong with this. And like most of my friends are in like the arts and just other fields. And maybe they worked in a restaurant once or twice here or there. And they're like, no, I'm not doing this ever again. So in that moment, it wasn't like I had... I met coworkers I could talk to. I had like the restaurant community for that part of the city that I could talk to. And it didn't really feel that like, I was like, oh, y'all don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm ignorant of this like moment, right? And you don't sound smart either. And I went to Rock, and Rock is how I found out like, what they were doing in this moment was having you declare enough that they did not have to pay you the minimum wage. Therefore, it's like tax fraud, right? That's how they would train you. This company still exists in this city. Like, they have multiple restaurants. I don't know if they still do that. I know they were sued very recently for a bunch of other stuff, that being one of them. But back to my point, I didn't know what to do in that moment. And so I can say, like, from when Rock first got here, like, that was a place where I learned what was happening, right? And I was able to go back to them easily because I didn't know that. You know, I'd only ever worked at Potbelly's, and I worked at the Odyssey, and that was a bad experience. And then I went to college, and I worked for college, and then I like managed a Dairy Queen and worked at Starbucks, and then came back into the industry again because I was like, well, I can host and make more than minimum wage and have really flexible hours and like live my life. And from there, I just kind of have always been drawn back into this aspect of like where my personal and like cultural and familial ancestry meets like food, beverage, the U.S., you know, and how that translates to now. And what can I do to like not have, you know, these really beautiful aspects. Like we can all, I don't want to get too tangential, I'm really bad about that, but like we can all like agree that everything has a history, right? But like who will be there to talk about Carolina gold rice and actually have like a cultural connotation as to like what that is, the history behind it beyond the like 4-foot exhibit at our museum that just opened. Do you know what I mean? Like, how does that maintain its, like, rich history, cultural roots, and, like, relevance when it can, like, easily just be rice?
Okay.
Right? So, like, when it comes to your tip pool... Sorry, I'm, like, real tangential. I'm going to move that away from me. I was prepared already. The tip pool was a way for all of us to explore our passions, protect each other when it came to money, and have some sort of, like, baseline pay. So far as how our tip pool works at Rose's Luxury Servers, get in at 3. We have our bussers coming at 4. Everybody eats. They
Sounds
like do the
nice.
floors. I mean, for this one job, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the bussers do the floors. We open at 5. Food runners have like a staggered in time. They're also in the tip pool, and everybody has like a staggered cut time. Usually, your last people in the restaurant are like your chefs, your line cooks, servers, and bussers. And that's at closing. I feel like for the most part, we are all out of that restaurant between midnight and 1 a.m.
So what keeps you at Rose's versus some of the like the Odyssey? Like, what's the difference between like your experience in those? And now, the Odyssey, is that the
it's like the dinner
boat,
cruise boat?
Dinner cruise
Yeah. I
boat?
was in high school. I was like, I'm fancy. I got this like great job. That same job was the first time I ever encountered physical and attempted like sexual assault, and also been fired for speaking up about it. And that was like me in high school, right?
At the Odyssey?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to have this bleak outlook on life and stuff. I'm not surprised because I've been sexually harassed and assaulted in the restaurant industry, because that's where I was. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in other industries, but it almost just feels like a part of the culture and the fabric of the industry.
It's like kind of part of being a woman.
Yes.
That would be where my opinion leans.
No matter
like,
where
yeah,
you are,
I don't,
it happens. People pull their dick out in the strangest places.
They sure do.
Yes,
It's
comfortably.
just randomly.
Or decide to reach and grab.
Yeah.
Can we get to 77 though?
Yeah.
Got a lot of background.
Well, I think this is important.
This is like all kind of like reaching there.
Sorry. It's important for people to know like what they're actually voting on, and to understand how a restaurant works, how a tip pool works versus not a tip pool, how some people are tipped, how other people's are not, and who it impacts.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like educate people, and also
a cat in my head. I'm sorry.
Understand where Thea, her experience is coming from, because we can, for all the viewers, we can talk about I-77, but if you know me, then honestly you might not want me just to dive in, because I've been an organizer for 10 years on increasing wages for tipped and non-tipped workers alike. So I'm just saying, like, I need to understand where Thea is coming from because I'm not just trying to battle her.
Real. I guess like I keep going to my tangentials because I feel like,
And we got time. There's
for
still an
me-
hour in the show, y'all.
yeah. For me, my fundamental problem with this campaign with Rock has been the dialogue, the misuse of information in these pamphlets is like kind of wild. I think even the town hall that happened at Midlands with Rock and some representatives of Save Our Tips, right? I was there, I was in the audience. That was wild.
So what misinformation? What do you?
There was
tell
a
us what
handout.
concretely what you're talking
I
about.
don't. It was like the glossy color handout that was like everywhere at this meeting, and on the, I don't know if anybody was there that has it, like take a picture of it. I don't have it. I like was looking for it earlier. But on the left-hand side of the very front of the page, it had like two different numbers for like what was it? Like median salary or like minimum wage, something like that, versus like what a tipped employee made, right? And it said like 2016 underneath it. And then, because we were all like, well, like this is like wild, you know, like where, like if this is really happening in this industry that I love, in this like really dope community in DC, like where is it happening? Like I know where it's happening. I would never send anyone there. Like I would never like work for these people again. I would never like stand for them. Like I am like more so leaning towards like the people that I know that have like are the reason why I stayed in DC when I first left New York. Like it was like, what is this like beautiful like community that is opened up? Who were all these like women doing these beautiful pop-ups, opening spaces? Who is this restaurant that I currently work at that is able to open its doors with health insurance, like with actual ideals, a mindset? Like they opened, we have
You get health insurance at Rose's
I
Luxury.
have health insurance. We have
That's
maternity
really amazing.
leave. We have
Maternity leave
yeah,
too?
that like just happened.
That's-
That like happened like last year, right? But like we opened knowing that was a conversation, that was something they were trying to figure out.
That's really awesome. They're trying to figure that out. Most places absolutely do not, in the restaurant industry, offer health insurance.
Totally
And
agree.
definitely not maternity leave. And I found that most restaurants aren't compliant with the paid sick days law. That's been a law for 8 years, and that's only 3 to 7 days per year, depending on what size. So, from my perspective, I'm really happy for you that you work at a place that offers those type of benefits. That is rare. Definitely keep that job. I wish more restaurants had a proactive approach at figuring out how to make the lives of the people that make them profitable more stable.
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly. This is like how I feel about everything. It's like, man, I agree with you to this point, like to like a little point, every like in every direction. It's like, I just want to go like back to like that meeting at Midlands really quick again, just for being there, and it was very interesting to. I also filmed it for myself. It's not really like a great video, but like I filmed it for myself. I've watched it a couple more times, and it like reiterated to me one of my ultimate problems with Rock, right? It is they're the three main focal points, in my opinion. I can be wrong, right? It's like sexism, racism, and like wage theft, or like minimum wage, something around wages, right? Like, because when Soru says that she's anti-tipping, right? Jessica says she's not anti-tipping, then says she is anti-tipping. I believe the ultimate moment is just like a higher minimum wage overall. What I don't understand is like the structure and like the lack thereof. Like it's like
Of the initiative, of the organization, I'm just...
of the initiative. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, so like when it was put forth, right, DC Council, like it had not passed that minimum wage would rise to $15 yet, right? So I understand like that aspect of it. But now that it has, right, and now that
The
they're...
minimum wage has not risen to $15 in DC yet.
2025, the
It's on the
projected
way.
raise, it
Yes.
is on the way. It has not passed as
And we
of
have
yet.
workers out here thinking they are entitled to $15 just yet. It's coming.
Yeah, no. It's like 2025, right? It's like an incremental increase.
So for non-tipped workers, it's supposed to rise to $15 by 2020. And this law was passed it is now 2018. This was passed in 2016. So there's like a dollar raise July 1st every year. So that's actually coming up. So I believe it's going to be around $13.50 this July 1st. That for all workers, the minimum wage goes up. For tipped employees, I believe it will go up to $4.40 or something like that. But then there is this tip credit, which is something I want you to explain to folks what that is as well. There's a tip credit where if you are a tipped employee, as Thea was saying before, these are servers, bussers, runners, barbacks, bartenders, floaters, silverware polishers, whatever, the structure of the restaurant. Sometimes managers too, but that's a other issue. Or I'm like, if you're getting a salary. So anyway, if you have a position of power, you're able to make decisions. Anyway, I'm like, I'm not sure you should be getting tips, but sometimes they do.
I've been a manager that was not salaried, that wasn't a tip pool, and I ultimately left that job. That business has now closed. But like, no, and that's kind of normal too.
So there are tipped positions in the front of the house that if they, over a course of a week, right, do not make the minimum wage
over the course of a pay period.
Then the employer is responsible for making up the difference so that they at least come up to the minimum wage. So that is what we're talking about. Now, this ballot initiative seeks to take that a step farther by increasing the overall tipped minimum wage, basically phasing that out over a 10-year period, collectively a 10-year period from 2016 to 2025, because it's pegged on. So increasing it to the $15 by 2025. But from my understanding, the initiative doesn't eliminate tipping, tip pooling, or tell restaurants how they're supposed to manage or deal with tips. So I'm hearing at Rose's Luxury that y'all already have a tip pool. So why are you against this? Tell me why you're against the initiative. Not necessarily like truth be told, for folks watching, I used to work for Rock. I don't work for them anymore. Yeah. I think that it's a great organization, but I had struggles there as well. It's not an easy place to work, but I still believe that restaurant workers, that the base pay needs to go up. So I'm curious why you are against the base pay increase.
I think for me, ultimately I'm against it because I do not see it as a solve, right? Like, I think it is presented in this way that, like, here are these problems: sexism, racism, and wages, and this is how we solve it. And I do not think that there is a single part of that initiative that solves it. I think that, like, I will be honest, like, I can say that I really started, like, diving back and, like, paying hardcore attention to this issue, like September of last year, I think was, like, around the time. And I was like, oh, what just happened, right? And then there was when Trump tried to, like, get rid of tipping earlier, or pretty much put it into employers' hands, which is, like, a direct moment of wage theft. Which possibilities.
Rock led that. So I'm going to thank you. I'm going to thank Rock for that.
Like I said, I agree. It's, like, always, like, I agree to a point. It's, like, up until this initiative, I'm like, you know, like most things in life, there's things to love and things to not appreciate as much.
So you don't think that increasing wages will address racism and sexism, structural discrimination?
No,
and
I think that industry? It would 100%. Like, every model that I can, like, looking at the examples, like, so for me, one of the most problematic parts of the dialogue around it between Sudhu and then Jessica Winters Martin is this, like, constant throwback to San Francisco, right, to California, which I'm like, A, that's a state. DC's not a state.
San Francisco's a city.
Okay, but like they usually use San Francisco, the Bay Area, LA, like the majority of the examples between what I could find on Instagram, Facebook, rock websites, and their personal, just like what comes out of their mouths. It's mostly California, right? As their references. San Fran is in California. They've always had minimum wage. The problem with that is like, which is kind of what they're doing right now. The healthcare charge they just passed. So like when you get your check in San Francisco, right? You have your bill, you have your tax, you have your healthcare charge, and you have your service charge, right? And yeah, you're making minimum wage. I think it was I'm trying to remember this like BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics chart, and it had like San Francisco next to like DC, and their median income, I believe it was like $17 an hour.
It was like a $2 difference that workers in DC make more, the median, than in San Francisco.
Yeah. But the part that like really caught my eye was the part about tipping, right? And like they have done some awesome things socially and created some like really dope change, I think. I do not think that there is a model in that system where the industry has had an ability to keep up and maintain like full service. I think even like I have a lot of friends in Portland, so like going there a lot and like kind of seeing like how
in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, in Portland, Oregon.
Where
so,
they
like,
also have
one fair wage and they get minimum wage, right?
And tips.
And tips.
And a lot of really awesome places to eat.
Yeah,
very
a lot
vibrant restaurant and eating scene that's not gone down.
I just spent my 30th birthday there for a week, so
and the weed is really cheap there too.
All these things are true. What I will say is the restaurant industry has massively changed, and then what they do development-wise is that you do not have a lot of affordable, I will say, everyday walk-in, sit-down, full-service restaurants. You have a lot of counter service. You have a lot of food trucks. You have a lot of businesses that maybe once had multiple restaurants and now they have one or two restaurants. Like you have, or they've completely changed all their models. Now it's like counter service and we pulled in another big name restaurateur to, you know, sustain something. In that meantime, while all these changes are happening, you've all these people getting laid off. You have all these people who now have 3 jobs instead of the 1 job they had. When I moved to New York, 2009, 2010-ish, right, because I had a straddle year between here and there and Philly, a lot of my friends moved to LA, like a lot of my industry friends, or they moved to San Francisco. All of them have moved back to DC in the last 5 years. Like the culture and like the very dynamic small business thing that's happening in DC right now with these very intentional owners is awesome. Like it's insane. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to stay here. Like when I came back from New York, I was like, I'll live in DC for like a year and then I'm going to go somewhere else to like focus on my wine studies. That was like what my whole plan was. And then instead I found Roses. I found Hogo used to be here. I found all these different spaces that did not exist here when I left that now were like former people who had worked in restaurants for 15 years. So now they're opening with, excuse me, with these like dope codes of conduct and mission statements and like actual chains of command and I want to use the word like self-enforcement, but also like I don't want to diminish the presence of people I know that were in those rooms that actually called for things and pointed things out, you know? And these are some of your top restaurants in DC. That is how Michelin got to DC. Like that is how all this international recognition for food and beverage is happening in DC. And I think the boat that Rock missed was not engaging that community. So you're using these examples from these places where massive amounts of people have lost jobs. I know them. They now work here. They were not making a good living in San Francisco. They were not making a great living in Portland. Like they were like doing okay, but they also like had multiple jobs. Like the gig economy is real. So you drive for Uber, you are a line cook that just worked $12 and then you know, save up some money to go do a stage somewhere else. A stage is when you go work somewhere for free in the hopes of like learning a skill or getting a job.
I've done that before.
Yeah. So like
in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So I hear you, and I want to validate your experience, your friends, and that is what you have seen directly. But I would contend that what you have described as challenges in these other cities are challenges here too.
Heard.
And I also want to say, like, honestly, yeah, I don't think that Initiative 77 is going to solve racism and sexism and discrimination in the restaurant industry. I think that these are talking points that Rock is using to further illustrate the problems and the complexes of the industry, but I don't think this initiative is going to solve that. What I do think that is helpful is getting workers to a decent standard wage. I don't think that tipping should be eliminated. I think that I want for people to work in this industry that is growing rapidly in DC, for it to be more professionalized. I want people like me and you that if we want to stay in the industry, like it's a dignified place to work, with steady benefits and opportunities. So I feel as if it's time for a transformation. I don't know if this is, I don't actually, I know that this is not the solve all issue initiative. There's a lot of work to be done to ensure that actually more places are operating like Roses, that have health insurance and provide maternity leave and are thinking of ways in advance of how to make sure that everyone who works in the restaurant has some equity, right? That's why y'all are doing the tip pool. But I just think it needs to be a step farther, because the $3.33 that is the tipped minimum wage now, it wouldn't have risen if Rock and other restaurant workers and different workers hadn't come in solidarity and said this needs to be higher. It would still be at $2.75, and it had been $2.75 since 1996. Mm-hmm. So it just makes me think, like, well, at what point, or what is the way that tipped employees or restaurant workers in general get to experience an increase in their base pay the way workers in other industries do? What is the right way?
I cannot say that I have a solution, right? Here's what I can say. I can say that, like, in my opinion, right, this like current moment of the industry in DC is like asking itself those questions. And what I think this initiative feels like instead is being like, yo, we all like have been in and out over the years, wherever, right? We've noticed these problems. We've felt unsafe. We've felt unheard. We have worked that lunch shift where you got $20. Like, we've all done that. How do we create spaces?
Yeah.
How do we create the spaces that we want to work in? And that is happening, right? Like, that is happening right now. And so for me, at least, like, I can say in the last 3 years, I have several friends who've just opened award-winning restaurants in this city, right? They are not rich. They are not generating a lot of income. They do not have the, like, figuring out how to give employees health insurance, right, while opening a restaurant and getting that done. And then I can think of like a couple of different models. So of ways people have done it. And I don't know anyone that's done it the same way, but they've all found a path, whether, you pay your employee pays a little bit or they pay nothing. They've all found a path to get there. And I think that's dope. And that's not because it's been legislated, right? It's because they have the experience of this industry. They have the backing of it. They have access to investors that are their coworkers. What I do not think is realistic is that you can expect these same people who are, barely hitting their minimum lines with all the other things of being a business owner, whether you have investors or not, whether you are a co-op with your staff or not, whether you are a service model, right? And you don't tip at all, because those restaurants exist, those bars exist in this city. I don't think that it is possible to tell them to find like what, an almost 500% increase in their overall budget, because
I don't know about
$3.33 to $15, right? That's like including like the taxes that you pay on your individual employees, right? Including all the aspects of being a business owner. Like, it's like, I am not a business owner. I can't call like numbers to this, right? But I know like there's like
Okay.
payroll tax, there's like your health insurance.
It's not easy. It's
not easy.
It's not easy.
I do not think
especially
it's
in DC.
impossible, right? I do think that like if that is the overall goal, then how is it that when I go into Rock's office, or like we've never heard of Rose's Luxury, we've never heard of any of these restaurants that have these. I'm like, okay, so who have you heard of? Like, who are you talking to? You've been here for what, 9 years? And I believe when I was like reading it earlier, the number was like 500 members, right? So that's like less than 1% of the hospitality community here in DC. And like, I try to steer clear of numbers because I'm really bad about like keeping them straight. But I'm also like, how is it that you haven't talked to any of us?
Well, so here's the thing about, well, not just Rock, but about nonprofits in general, right? Like, they're nonprofits. So their capacity is extremely limited compared to businesses that have direct access to employees, or business associations that have access to hundreds of people. So, you know, Rock has a couple of staff, so they're doing what they can to engage as many people. But I will tell you that when I worked at Rock, and this was from 2009 to 2013, I surveyed myself 346 restaurant workers with a standard survey, asking them, and these are front of the house, back of the house, black, white, Asian, Latino, every different position, just to learn more about the good benefits and then the lack of benefits, to see what was what. And overwhelmingly, you know, people didn't have access to paid sick days and any kind of job protection. People talked about, you know, being afraid of standing up and getting retaliated against, losing their job if they talked about wage theft or just a whole host of things. And it really opened up my eyes. So, and when I worked there, I would get calls from workers from Pittsburgh and Virginia and just anywhere. People are like, hey, this happened to me. Like, I don't know what to do. What are my rights? Like, help educate me, you know? So I just want to be clear with folks about the difference in capacity and maybe why they haven't got to every single restaurant. But I'm also not interested in a conversation necessarily that attacks a nonprofit organization. I'm interested in why you, as someone who makes tips, does not want the base wage to be increased over time. Like, what is it? I'm curious about if this isn't a solution that you think is helpful to the restaurant industry. What are other ideas that would make it easier for small businesses to operate, stay successful, and take care of their employees? Because I'm not trying to front like it's easy to run a restaurant. It's not. I worked in the industry for 17 years. It is a hard industry, and it's really expensive to do so here in the District of Columbia, where the rent is really high, where in a lot of the places that you're renting out to start, you have to pay the property tax on the building, plus the utilities. The owners aren't trying to help you. There aren't, plus renovations while you're operating, your taxes, like, it's not easy. You need to have a sound strategic plan and the right people helping you execute that. And it's hard to do. So I'm not even fronting, but I think that there are changes that definitely need to happen and be updated in the industry. So I want to know what you think are solutions to getting more places on the level of Rose's Luxury or other good places that you worked at, because not all places are like that, and you know that. Otherwise, you would have stayed at those other places.
100%, definitely. I think that, like, intentional culture setting, having, like, I've worked at Rose's Luxury since opening. Like, I helped open that restaurant. Most recently, I helped a really great project in Mount Pleasant, Ellie, that just opened up. Ellie opened up with immediate, CAS training, or safe bars, excuse me, safe bars training, which was like pretty much like a really great moment of like one-on-one, like how to read a room, like what are protocols of safety. Here are things like signs you can look out for that's not okay. Also like language that you use with each other. I think that is like a great pathway to find something more like systematic to change overall. I think that like no, I do not have much experience, nor do I represent the National Restaurant Association or Darden or any of these other like big name companies. Like no, I have definitely like intentionally stayed far away from those places because of the boys will be boys culture, right? And I do not think that that stands for this entire industry as a whole. Do you know what I mean? Now, so far as like to why I'm against this initiative, I think that like I happen to work with two very open, for the most part, restaurant owners, you know, and sitting there with them, not like, you know, in a one-on-one. Do you know what I mean? But like they're open, whereas like they will answer questions if you have them. They have talked about, so like, all right, so this is like, excuse me, what we are doing in the moment with like the tipped minimum wage already rising and trying to like have and maintain this like dope culture of like all these farms between like Maryland and Virginia and like getting this like really fresh, really awesome, really like humane for every resource to the person that is serving you, like complete attached organisms going. That is not an easy feat, right? So like at where do you cut your costs then? I think the things that have been suggested, you know, like, well, you change your wells. You go to a cheaper product. So then who goes to your restaurant? And then do you stand for that? And how do you then incorporate this whole new like payroll aspect in where it's like, okay, in the current model, right? I can support that. Like, yes, I want my industry to change. And I think that like in these other pathways, like we as a whole are all coming together and creating the spaces that we've always wanted, right? From like working to the people that come in and how we treat our guests, right? To how we treat our purveyors, to how we treat every single person that comes into interaction with that building, right?
At Roses.
At Roses, at Ellie, the two places I work, at
Roses and
Room
Ellie.
11, at Himitsu, at places that I go to a lot. Like I think that these very intentional spaces have been created throughout the city with a dedication to being not only a safe space for guests and women and minorities and you know what I mean? Like everyone that could feel slighted in a dining out experiences, they have intentionally created cultures where like you will not have that. And if you do, there's someone there to be like, I'm so sorry that just happened to you. Can we like, what can I do? Like, how do we get away from this? And there is a level of awareness.
But my question is, like, we had said earlier that we don't think Initiative 77 is a solution for dealing with...
No, not at all.
But
it poses itself as such.
So I'm not.
Cool.
So I'm curious, like, I heard you say that you think intentional culture setting is really important for the transformation of the restaurant industry. And I think that that's right too. But how does that make it so that people like me and you have more consistent wages, the opportunity to budget, to like get workplace benefits? I'm not clear about.
Oh, heard. I think, like, in my experience, right, I have found myself more protected and I have the ability for that. Like, I have, like, a stable paycheck. I have, I can request off. I can, like, go on vacation. I can, like, take off and kick it with a family member if they're ill. Like, I have flexibility of life. I have a stable income. And that, I think, is enabled by, like, this dope workspace, Roses, and the tip pool.
So you said you get a steady paycheck. You actually get a paycheck.
Yeah, I get a
that
paycheck.
has money on it.
Yes,
it doesn't
definitely.
say zero. This is not a check. You've never gotten that at
When
Roses.
I stopped work, never. No.
I
don't get that at Ellie. I haven't gotten that. I have not had that happen to me in a job since like 2009, 10 when I left DC at that restaurant.
So you get paid like every 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
every week or something.
I get paid every 2 weeks.
I don't want to ask like exactly how much you make, but I've like very seldomly ever received an actual paycheck in my 17 years. Most of the time it was like, this is not a check, 0, 0. So
have you worked in a tip pool restaurant?
Yeah.
And you still didn't get a paycheck?
you know what? I don't want to say that I never got one. Like, I definitely remember getting sometime a paycheck for like $20 or $30, but getting something that was like consistent, like I know I'm going to get $100 to $200 like every paycheck. Like, no. In my experience, I was never able to depend on something regular coming in. It always fluctuated depending on the shifts that I worked and the type of restaurant that I worked at. So that's why I'm curious. I'm like, how is Rose's doing something different where they're paying $333 but still, or Ellie's, but still able, but paychecks are still being generated.
Yeah, so
this is new to me.
Is the work seasonal?
No.
So have you ever gotten cut? So you pretty much have a very stable work situation?
Yeah, definitely. I have those experiences. I do not have that experience currently. I have not in the last 5 years.
So your perspective
of being back in DC
at this point definitely comes from a certain place of privilege, knowing that the place that you work at is in the minority. How do you think that other people can get the same feeling of an assured paycheck for the hours that they work, at least? Any type of level of comfort, you know?
Consistency is key, especially when you got kids.
And agree.
You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I need to be able to budget and plan on, you know?
That's
and
real.
again, I'm not saying it's easy, but what are the solutions? What are the ways that restaurants can like work with workers to have more stability?
I mean, again, I have not worked for any major corporation restaurant almost ever outside of like fast cash models. I have not worked in like a couple fine dinings in New York. So everyone I've worked with is a chef owner, either doing pop-ups or like opening a space, right? Or they are an owner who's just really trying to get something going. Like they just really want to, they have an idea, they think it's great, they're going to run with it. They're going to put all their all into it, you know, all the investors they can gather, parents, homies, whoever, and like try to make something happen. So those are my experiences, I'll say, this 2018. So for the last 8 years, that's been my day-to-day measure, right? So I can't speak to someone that like works in these other, like in these corporate restaurants outside of being like, if that, you know, DC is like what, like just under 600,000 people now?
800.
Yeah,
800?
we've grown.
Jesus.
We've had a lot of growth.
So 800,000, right? Out of those people, I don't know how many work for a corporate restaurant that, you know, live in DC or work in DC. What I will say is, I don't. Do you know?
I think that there's approximately 50,000.
Yeah, that's like
the
going number
in Washington D.C. And I can't tell you the percentages of different types. There are certainly a lot of independent restaurants, but there are a lot of corporate restaurants in many empires here in D.C. And we actually boast having 5 of like some of the top grossing restaurants in the entire United States. This town,
shout out DC industry.
This town got money, okay?
Yeah,
people be eating and spending their money here, okay?
Most definitely.
The Clyde's Corporation, the Old Ebbitt Grill, the Hamilton, and the Clyde's in Chinatown, like regularly on the business journals, some of the top 3 grossing restaurants, making like 30 million in profits. Again, you know, kind of.
So they can afford this massive switch.
Exactly. The thing that I have the issue with,
and they are not the majority of the restaurant.
There is a whole lot you might not know. Like Latin Concepts owns 5 or 6 restaurants. Passion Foods owns a whole bunch of restaurants. Jose Andres owns a whole. You know these groups. So there are many corporations. A lot of folks don't know. The thing that's upsetting to me is that those are the groups that can actually afford to do this, and they are advocating to not increase wages for workers, for everyone. And so it's like, if you can afford it, why not y'all do that? Because you can do it and help professionalize the industry, create ladders that people can move up. And then maybe in my opinion, the smaller, like struggling businesses, what is the city doing to make it easier for them to get cash flow and all these other things? And maybe they could have an exemption or like a time period till they get to a certain level to have to, but you know what I'm saying?
I'd be into that. Instead, what we have are our ward members trying to give IHOP a tax break to open up in Anacostia, when that moment of revitalization was pushed by community. Those small businesses that are there are not IHOP. They are not Denny's. They are not there. But that is who, when you read articles about this industry in D.C., they are not talking about those groups. Yes, do they get money? Sure. You can book a convention in here. Sure. You can do whatever. Like, yes, there are plenty of people who will go back to that side of the industry because they're like, I would rather have to clock everything about my job and constantly like be on top of my owner and my boss and my manager, because I would rather make bread than like do this. I know like 2 people who have just done that. Like, and that is where we're at with this conversation in DC, is that it's like, so the thing that is driving your industry is not the thing that you are like attacking, right? We can all agree that there are major restaurant groups that could and should do way better. And they still exist, and they are still generating profit right now on Wisconsin Avenue, in Georgetown, right now on K Street, right now in Chinatown, you know? No, they are getting $0 paychecks and walking out with a bunch of cash and getting these crazy tax bills. Been there, done that. Like, that is not the community that is pushing DC. That is not who will be most affected first and worst. Like, that is me. That is all these, like, small business owners, these brown women, these DC natives, these like new to DC people, these like growing their families and kids here from Baltimore, from Northwest, from Anacostia. Like, that is who was affected worst and first. All these corporations can eat that. So how are we saying that like this is beneficial for all of us when the instantaneous result is like, cool, so either we can close or we just like don't need a front of house staff anymore. We're going to like change our entire operation so that we can have the 2 people we can afford work the front with no support and pay minimum wage and put out our product, or we close, or we, I don't know.
I don't know if it's that simple across the board, though.
I
hear you.
agree.
But my problem, see, I just don't get down with like general corporate interests that are advocating on behalf of working class people, because typically they're not looking out for us.
Yeah.
So if the big restaurants that actually run the local restaurant association, the Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington,
which is what, 30% of all the restaurants here?
Yeah,
so not even the majority.
Okay, but they and the National Restaurant Association are behind the Save Our Tips campaign framing. Okay? And so that's where I think that the way that the issue is being framed on that side is misleading as well. My question is, if the biggest, most powerful, profitable restaurants are the ones who are actually leading the resource charge against the initiative, why are their talking points or their proposals not about adjusting the amendment to better accommodate small businesses, right? It's just about defeat it.
From the conversations I've had, it's more so been like, oh, we already like are figuring something out. We already have a plan. We had this moment to like slowly scale up and like in our trajectory to like, all right, we have this amount of time to reach $5. We have this amount of time. Yeah,
but
to
that
reach
was it.
$5.
And that would be over a total of like 30 years by that point that it had been frozen for that. So
yes, I can agree. That do I think that...
I don't think it's enough.
Agreed. I do also don't think that people most vulnerable should be held accountable for a bad system. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they should be attacked and like told that they are...
Well, who's the most vulnerable?
Me.
The workers.
The small businesses
right?
that just opened up that are owned by the workers. Like, how do
whoa,
you...
Whoa,
so if
wait.
we're... like, if you're...
The business... Roses is not... Are you saying Roses is a co-op?
No, and I'm not talking about Roses.
Are you... I don't know of any cooperatively owned restaurants in DC. I just want to be clear.
No, okay. I don't know the model either. What I was referring to was people who had been workers who are just opening their first establishment.
Into a system that has not been set by them. J Mills, I want to know what you think about all this. We've been talking a lot. What is your I know you have experience in the restaurant industry, but I don't think you have worked in it as long as Thea and I. So what's your perspective as someone who has a little bit of experience, but who's a consumer and a native Washingtonian?
Well, I did almost a decade.
Okay.
18 to 28. When I got pregnant, I got fired from Phillips downtown. But yeah, so it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Definitely part of, man, that whole life was very, very, very interesting. The way you had to budget and just kind of accept it, and the level of acceptance, I think, that came along with getting paychecks that said zero, but sometimes walking out with a couple $100, several $100, many $100 in a night in cash, and the camaraderie, just the lifestyle that comes along with making that much money. I mean, I joked around with friends and said it's really like a step away from drug dealing or stripping, because getting used to that fast cash life, immediate gratification from the job that you work is not really normal. There's not too many other industries that will give you that payout like that, you know? So accepting all of the things that came along with that, whatever it was, however unfair it was the thing that you did in working in the industry. But we really have to historically look at the context of that industry and why it's set up as it is. And there are many things that have existed in this country for a very, very long time. That doesn't make it right. Undoing it won't be easy, but we live in a time of change, radical change, amazing, like unbelievable change. Like cannabis is legal. We had a black president. You know, I mean, even historically looking at Brown versus Board of Education and integration and affirmative action and all these different things that never would have, you just never, it was like, this is just how it is. How dare you demand these rights? Well, here we are again with yet another fight, which is glaringly obvious that it's unfair. It's preposterous to imagine that your budget stops at the people who actually are the most important part of your business. You got the budget for the dishwashers. You got the budget for your cooks. You got the budget for your front of house. You got your budget or your top of the line administrator. You got a marketing budget. You spending menus, all types of what decorations, lights, all sorts of things that goes into a restaurant. However, suddenly it is preposterous to assure that these people can get minimum wage. That's the way I look at it. Like, you know, from working in the industry, someone who wants to own a restaurant, when I do private pop-up events, I pay my people more than minimum wage, because I don't want you to feel like you got to shuck and jive or depend on your time. But you know how somebody feels about arbitrarily tipping you, because it's not even legal and mandatory in the first place. You know, we got to realize we don't exist in a vacuum. We don't. It's a whole world, and it's an information age, and there are many places that are giving people in fair pay. This is not new. This is not, oh my gosh, you know, it is what it is. Yes, it's radical. Yes, it's going to shake, but I
am not like against any sort of change. I am not against like making more money per hour. I am against a national organization deciding to like set its sights on DC, doing little interaction with the community that has like brought DC, like has hospitality and food back to the forefront, and then telling me that I'm a victim. Telling me like
wait, you did work previously at the Odyssey, correct?
Yeah.
Which is in DC.
Yeah.
your experience there.
Yeah. I was fired after being sexually assaulted in the locker room of a boat. I was also
Horrible.
16.
Horrible.
And my boss decided I was lying, also a woman of color. And then I was subsequently fired. Totally horrible. Never wanted to work. I instantly knew, like, this is not a safe and protected space.
I would hate to be on a boat like that. That's so terrifying.
My God.
Like, I would have
wasn't
a total fear of boats.
I don't,
And, like, close quarters. My God. Like, I already do, because the whole, I'm on a boat. Like, I gotta run. Maybe it was the air sign in me. I gotta know my escape.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Chilling to that. Thank you. It was crazy. Like, I didn't know I needed to be afraid. And then I was like, this is wild. I don't have to be afraid. I can just, like, not do this.
No, fuck that.
And find my avenues of safety. Again, like, the community, the hospitality community. Like, my dad was a chef for a while. Like, I've never not been tapped in or wanting to be a part of. Like, I have tried other things. And I've always come back to this industry.
Barring that, I thought that just in terms of you getting a zero paycheck, that was a place where you just had the tips, or was it that you weren't working there?
No. Well, yeah. I was also in high school, so I couldn't work that much. But, like, I'm pretty sure I got, like, change on a paycheck, like, like $15, 30 cents, like, whatever, and, like, walked out with $300 to $600 cash in high school. So that's, like, wild. Like, I was, like, paying for college. That was, like, my moment of, like, oh, I got a job to, like, try to, like, not be in debt. Cool. And then that happened, and then I just, like, didn't have a job until I went to school and work study, scholarships, things like that. But from that moment on, I worked in a bunch of other food service related things. I was one of the few people, I think, that had a great experience with Starbucks. Shout outs to that 401k.
Yeah, they're a great company. It's a lot of companies that are doing good things. I was talking to Nikki about my experience with the Darden Group, apparently long before things turned sour.
Yeah.
But I had benefits. It was cool. They supported me in school. I really I liked the company structure. I could see where I could go within it, the different rates of pay that you even got per hour, moving up as a head server, and all these different opportunities and different locations, and just seeing my peers go on and be assistant manager, and shout outs to that lifestyle. It's unfortunate, whatever may have changed from how it was in the past, but I'm sure there are other companies that are making that choice to be like that, But I'm all about justice, and injustice for one is injustice for all. No matter how nice my experiences may have been, all I can think about, and we all know this, anybody in the service industry, you do this shit because you know it, and you over tip. You over tip everywhere you go, because you just know, like, somebody didn't.
If you work in the service industry,
it's too
you
real.
know what's up.
You know what's up. So for that good day, that good time that you had, there's one that does not, and maybe they'll never have a day like that. They'll never have a $1,000 day, the $800 day, whatever $100
I never
day.
did.
Okay, $400 day. Snitch on myself, but
I am an advocate for, like, standardizations across our industry. I'm an advocate for people having a more sustainable and stable lifestyle while also, like, pursuing what I consider a profession, like working in this industry, being a server, like on the sommelier life, like trying, I love it. There's a reason why I have left and come back for 15 years now, like, I do support them. I'm not going to act like I don't see them. Like, I'm not going to act like their problems are my problems. I'm not going to act like, you know what I mean? Like, that is not what I am saying at all. Like, I see you. I know where you are. I know the restaurant groups that, like I said, that I worked for that still exist here in DC. The mini conglomerates, all these things. But like I said before, like, I agree that change is afoot and should be pursued. I do not think this is a pathway. I do think there is a pathway. I do not have a complete solve for it right now. I think that is something that could be done together, right? I think that even with the the campaign between like Save Our Tips and One Fair Wage, right? I cannot say I support either group. Hard period. Like, nah, I'm not here for either one of you. None of you seem to actually care about me. None of you actually seem to like what is your goal here? Like, to have Suru and Rock compare what I do to cheapen my profession and also to cheapen women in general by they had a statement come out yesterday, and it was a quote from Suru, and they essentially equated tipping to sex work, right? That is what Rock is doing, like on social media platforms. That also, like, FOSTA just passed. So you are going to sit here and demonize sex workers who already just took a massive hit via legislation that we were not included on, much like this initiative. And then, like, while also demonizing them, tell me that I must too be demonized and victimized because I get tips, because my living is based on tips. That makes it less of a profession. That makes it less of. I'm like, I know so many people who scrimp and save. Like,
that is a good point.
Do you know what it costs to take a sommelier test? Like, to be in these, like, to continue to see what I do as a profession, right? To get certifications like you would in any other job that you do get paid minimum wage on. That cost me, what was the first one? $600.
I can't wait to
That's almost 3/4 of my rent right now.
Goodness.
And I live with 6 other people. Like, that is almost 3/4 of my rent. I had a stable income, was able to, like, help friends with pop-ups, work at other pop-ups, like, get help open another restaurant, and complete all these other things in my life based on my tipping. Now, on me being tipped, excuse me. What is problematic for me is that I will instantly my rent will now become 3/4 of my overall income. Like, we were doing the math. I think there's a restaurant owner who put out a call to, like, bring your payroll, bring your pay stubs, come to my restaurant, and I will, like, show you how this will directly impact you. I want to say it was, like, Macon Bistro. I can't remember her name, but it, like, someone just sent it to me today. They're like, I think it's next Monday. She's like, bring your payrolls, bring your checks, bring your pay stubs, and, like, we can see how this will directly impact you. Do you know what I mean? That is a small business owner. That's not Rock. Rock is telling me that I'm a victim.
8 years from now?
Yeah, I'm like, it's kind of hard to, like, are they projecting their revenues 8 years from now? Like, it's $1.
When everybody else's wage has also gone up.
Consumer pricing index. Like, I'm not sure what her system is going to be. Like I said, I just, like, found out about this. Like, I'm not sure what her system will be, but I will say that, like, the person doing the work is the person being demonized by Rock and One Fair Wage, right? Not the person that is over here, you know, giving you a $0 paycheck. That person is fine.
I understand, honey, that you do not like Rock. There's a whole lot of people that
I also don't like the NRA. You know what I mean? I am not a member. I'm not a Rammy's member. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not a RWM, whatever it is. Like, I support them. Like, I support certain aspects of Rock, but
they
like,
don't have a worker. They don't have worker representation. They did start a group last year called the Restaurant Worker Association of America, and their mission is to explicitly, if you go to their website, to stop the increase of the tip minimum wage. And so,
is that the one with the, what's his name? The dude with the glasses?
This is the Restaurant Workers Association of America. It's a brand new organization that has formed in response to the work of Rock. But the work of Rock, you may not agree with this initiative being a solution to some of the problems, but what I do have a problem with is then a restaurant association of wealthy business owners creating a fake restaurant workers association with the only mission of stopping the tip minimum wage, not addressing any of the other issues that could be improved in the industry.
I like, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that there are NRA members that may or may not be with Save Our Tips, but I'm pretty sure that those are mostly, if not all, small business owners. They're not the National Restaurant Association.
Well, the local restaurant association has plenty of independent owners, but I guarantee you this is a coordinated campaign. I know it's a coordinated campaign. I mean, that's organized compared to the non-restaurants that are organized. And so Kathy Hollinger, David or Andrew Klein, the local restaurant association's lawyers, they're at the Wilson Building. They were probably there today, already prepping council members to strike down this initiative if it passes. If it doesn't pass, they don't have anything to worry about. But if voters still vote for it, they're already working to repeal it. And so that is the beautiful and really difficult thing about democracy, right? If you don't like something for voters, for residents who are getting involved, if you don't like something about your city, a law that's been passed, like, get involved. Organize your community, organize your workers, go talk to city council, talk about what your options are, talk about other solutions.
Definitely.
It's a process. You got to fight for it.
Agree.
And, that's why I'm glad we're having this discussion today. Hopefully, folks have gotten a more rounder view of the Save Our Tips perspective and the Initiative 77 perspective. And now it's up to y'all to decide where you stand on it. Read some more articles from the Washington Post or the city paper. Look at different websites. Talk about it. Get involved. Learn what's up. Talk to servers when you go out and eat and see where they stand, if they know about it. Ask people if they even know that they get to vote on June 19th in the first place. That's a whole other conversation about our DC government and transparency, etc. But now it's up to you. So keep talking about it. Thea, I want to thank you for joining us on our show, sharing with us about your life and your perspective. At this point in the show, because it is 10:33, it's time to hand it over to Jay Mills to give us some wisdom nuggets, some perspective, to bring it all back to love, because that's what we are about here at One Love Massive. It is about love. We can disagree on different things, but get involved from a place of love, not from hate. That is important. Jay Mills.
Yep.
Take us home. Snap, 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 snap.
I want to dedicate this metaphysical moment to the ladies, specifically the mothers. And I say mothers and ladies at the same time because women are pregnant with ideas. Our imagination is so vast and profound. Our attention to detail is so amazing. We are literally creative force, a reminder of divinity. We form human beings inside of us majestically in our sleep, just growing a whole human. The body comes together so amazingly, so amazingly. Life is a gift. Every life is a gift, and women have an amazing gift in giving life, not just physically in the capacity that one would say, but also in your words. Women speak life, and boy, they can cut you down. Women are so powerful. I always get into it, when I can direct it to the ladies, but I know there are definitely some gentlemen who are watching and things like this. And there was this comment that was said in the internet a little while ago that I took interest in, because I'm all about, the information age and taking responsibility and becoming love, pushing through, having the hard conversations and being the highest intention of yourself. Everyone has been hurt people, all of the different generational hurts that have just been imparted upon different persons, the identity crisis that many people are having right now. There's this universal mother love that is needed to be expressed from every woman, just to love every woman. You must love. You must be love. Be that firm love, motherly love. Know that love creates and destroys. The idea that something outside of love and light is responsible for destruction is a whole nother talk show, and the many illusions we've been placed upon to be cast in the spell of this paradigm that separates you from understanding that the light of life in you is divine. Flat out. Like you're alive, part of the all that is all. Back to these women and the power of their words. the power of their thoughts, and the power to give life and to speak life. When women are so hurt, all these different reasons why we are hurt, we can categorically break down graph by graph and tell you horrible story after horrible story of things that have happened to us. So this man asked if men are trash. Who hurt them? That's a conversation that many women were not really willing to have at the same time of addressing their pain and the source of their pain, to also look at those other parts of themselves. No, it's not them. It's never them. That's always the conversation when you got to talk about these things. We want men to talk about things. They're not rapists, but we want to talk to them about the things that have happened to us. Can we, as women, have a conversation about horrible women, about horrible mothers, about terrible decisions and trifling choices that we know? No, we don't know them. No, they're not our friends. No, I'm not going to take responsibility for these skeezers, but I have heard tell. I know the breed very well. It troubles me, but there are things we must understand about the differences in our genders. If you choose to believe in the story of Adam and Eve that is told in many, many different religions, you'll learn one key thing about the difference between us. Man's greatest temptation is woman, but woman's greatest temptation is material. Eve wasn't tempted by Adam. She wanted that apple. The woman who wants the wrong things is the cause of destruction. The woman who wants the right things, speaks the right things, does the right things. Majestic. We got to step into our magic. We are very powerful, very magic. The intuition of a woman, the intuition of a mother. Magic. Powerful. Real, factual, and it can be polluted when you lie to yourself. Sometimes people pollute it when they lie to you and try and make you feel like you crazy, that you don't see what you know you see, and you don't feel what you know you feel, but their words and things aren't lining up. You know, we got to be love. Love is pushing through all of those things in observation without judgment. So shout outs to those that give life, understanding what unconditional love truly is. Redefine it. Step outside of this paradigm and realize that just as there is nothing that you as a parent, you know, looking at your child as they grow, there's nothing that they could do that could make you not love them. They can disappoint the fuck out of you. Get on your last nerves you didn't even know you still had. They on it, tap dancing. But that limitless capacity for love is a limitless capacity you got to have for yourself, and a limitless capacity to have for the others. Love is compassion. Compassion is loving the haters. So push through all of that to all my women. Push through all of the examples to be negative that are just flooding the world right now. Nothing but cattiness and horrible stories and love and hip hop, but nobody's really in love and nobody's really friends. And nah, man, my friends is friends, yo. Like, nah. Shout outs to Aaron, Jasmine, two mothers to be, two best friends, man. Candace. Jasmine, I have to name a couple more because now, you know, the list is up. But shout outs to women that love women. Shout outs to queens that uplift queens. Adjust the crown without telling nobody that it was crooked. You know, we got to be love. I'm making this charge to women, you know, I'm making this charge to men too. But definitely off the strength of Mother's Day, we got to activate that creative God sense that we have to place beauty where it was not, to create beauty and love and light. We smell good. We arch our eyebrows for the fuck of it. Since ancient Egypt, we painted our faces in still waters. We just do these things. We've done these things. We just decorate flowers and domesticate beasts. We are powerful, yo. One love.
That's what's up. Thank you, Jay Mills, for that beautiful metaphysical moment again. For people who are watching, I hope you soak that in. I hope that you learned something. I hope you learned something from the show today, reflected in the metaphysical moment. We are queens. We treat each other as queens, even if we don't agree on issues. This is how you have a conversation with people, but can still like each other at the end of it.
Word.
We might not all, agree on different points, but like, I hear you, I know you heard me, and it's still love, and we're gonna still work together to figure out
One love,
solutions. Yo. So, thank you for tuning in, everyone. Again, get your ass out of the couch and go vote June 19th. Selfish plug: vote for Nikki MG, vote for Jay Mills, vote for Molly, vote for everyone on the Dump Trump Dems for Action slate. Check out our website, demsforaction.nationbuilder.com. We got some dope happy hour events coming up, and we'd love to see you there. So thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next week, Tuesday at 9. Peace out. All right.
Yep. Like Teddy.